Yo gamers, what's up? It's your boy GoldDemon12 back with another Honkai Star Wars video, and today we are going to be talking about Gallagher, who potentially, and again, I'll say it again, I think he's very good, who potentially will be competing for your sustain slot, right? And there's a huge reason why he will be, and I'm going to cover it, okay? So, and here's one thing, right? There are a couple of people that have said choice comments like that they shouldn't pick up Gallagher because Lynx is free, and other various things that, well, frankly, don't really make any sense. So here I am today to cover what Gallagher does, as Hoyoverse has, released it officially, so I can actually talk about it fully, and I will be explaining to you why he is actually very good and probably worth leveling for a lot of players. And as for the people who, again, for whatever reason, don't want to pick him up off the free selector, that's up to you. And there's more I could talk about that, but again, this is supposed to be about the character, right? This is a pre-release analysis. So let's hop into it, a little classroom talk, if you will. So yeah, Gallagher is a 4-star abundance healer, which, gives him a lot of Lycan options for a healer. And there's a reason why I selected these four, okay? And by the way, I make these infographics myself, in case anyone was wondering that. I make it myself. I do all this stuff myself, right? But yeah, let's start. So the main thing he's got going on here is his trace. Novel Concoction. Increases the unit's outgoing healing by an amount equal to a certain percentage of their break effect up to a maximum amount. And again, it's the Tipsy Tussle talent, right? It's related to that. So this is very interesting because this means he scales off of break percent. So you build this character break and you get healing out of it. Now there's something really interesting about that I'm actually going to pull up right now. I should have pulled it up earlier. The thing I want to pull up is specifically how break damage works. Now, there's a bit of a misconception about the actual, like, what break is and, like, the actual resulting effect, right? It's split up into two things. The break itself, right, which has its own property and multiplier, and then there's the actual resulting debuff from break, right, which is a separate, effect of you breaking that specific weakness, okay? Just make those things clear. And of course, like always, this is on the wiki. If it's available for everyone, you can see the default multipliers and how you would do the math if you want to check this for yourself, right? So a lot of people understand that fizz break is really good, but they don't understand why, okay? And I've seen people talk about wind break being better than fire break, which again, math would say that's not always true. And generally, in terms of actual raw damage, right, as you can see here, Imaginary is the worst. Now, there's a reason why Hoyoverse is balanced like this. If we're being realistic, Ice is kind of the worst, but that's debatable on how Freeze works in your given scenario. As to where Shock is, like, for the most cases, the worst, actually, because its damage is low and its actual effect isn't that strong, right? And I'll explain, I'm not going to explain why in this video, but just for this video in particular, we're looking at Fire Break because Gallagher obviously is a fire abundance character who scales break. So we're going to want to look at what his resulting damage is and what his resulting effect is, which in this case is burn, which again, I would say is one of the weaker effects, just like shock, right? Now, shock has a higher multiplier for its DOT effect. Burn, it's just last 2 turns, right? Nothing special. So why is this important? Well, in case you, again, don't understand how break works, it scales off of the base value, right? The level multiplier, which if it depends, sort of like Elemental Mastery and Genshin, you need to be at max level to get the most out of it, right? Because it scales per your actual level. I misclicked there. But again, higher the level you are, the higher amount of break that character will do when they actually break the target, right? It's that explosion of damage. And so why is this important? Well, it's because this also multiplies by the enemy's toughness, right? And this toughness multiplier is just how many hits, like the hit point value of the toughness bar, right? The weakness bar that each enemy has, right? Typically, small mobs have, 30, 60, or 90, right? Toughness. So to sort of visualize this, it's either 1 basic attack, 2 basic attacks, or 3 basic attacks. You probably noticed that with some skills doing more than that, or other abilities doing, various amounts, right? Different characters have different numbers for their actual break potential, right? Gallagher is going to obviously have really good break potential with one of his other passives, and because he has an enhanced basic, right, it's going to do more actual toughness damage. So that's important to how he functions. But the reason why this is important is because this damage, if you're like fighting the unknown meme, which has 720, toughness, you're going to do exponential, or not exponentially, but multiplicatively more damage to the unknown meme, right? Because that's 720 weakness, which dramatically increases that multiplier, which brings me to my chart. Now, this is just word vomit of how Ruan Mei works whenever she came out doing her calculations, right? But obviously the damage number changes dramatically based on the enemy's toughness, right? And so, of course, I just put it into a separate multiplier like I normally do, because I'm a crazy like that. But I want to look at the way you build break on this character, because again, we have a light cone that seems kind of tailored for him, right? The new light cone, and here I'll pull that up for you. If it gives you break and healing on basic. Now the healing part doesn't really matter. That's just self tanky for him. But at R5 again, this free to play light cone gives you 42 break, which is significant break amount. And of course, he'll obviously most likely give himself break while also boosting break in itself, because again, he seems to be revolved around break. So the reason why this is important is because if you run him with like Rune Mei, who boosts your actual efficiency in breaking, which means of course you can break faster. And I'm gonna keep saying this throughout the video, so it's gonna get annoying. But the point is right, you build a lot of break effect on this character, like let's say 200 because you're gonna run 4-piece break, probably break rope, right? All this break stuff, right? If you're fighting the unknown meme, for example, right? And again, let's just say we've got Gallagher's debuff on it, we have maybe Pella's defense shred on it, right? When Gallagher breaks the unknown meme, he's gonna do like 100k worth of damage to the meme as a 4-star healer. Do you understand why this is good? If you ever go up against a fire weak enemy and this dude is sitting there with break, and here, let's take away Pella's thing, right? You're still gonna be doing like 75k damage when he breaks the enemy target. This is huge for a 4-star healer that otherwise, like other healers, isn't doing anything to contribute to damage, right? This makes him insanely strong, obviously assuming you're against Fire Weak, but this is another very strong option for your actual account. And again, event modes are like MOC, like this is just free damage for running a healer. And this is why, again, one of the reasons why I say he combats with a Luocha, right? People have said it come in my streams, right? I've talked about the current state of sustains. Gallagher is really powerful in his, correct scenario, right? Especially given you have Ruan Mei, who's gonna, obviously boost that a lot more. And in case you guys don't know, because I'm going over it pretty fast and I don't want to keep this video too long, the actual break damage you do scales completely off enemy stats and the actual, break multipliers. So none like damage percent won't affect it, just like damage penetration, resistance down, all that stuff will affect it. So yeah, very, very powerful ability that he has right here to scale off break, because if he breaks, he's going to do a lot of damage, okay? So it's important to keep in mind when building this character and the matchups, right? If it's Fire Weak, well, you've got a pretty good reason to bring Gallagher, as if he breaks, goes the health bar, right? So yeah, pretty good. And again, 8 minutes talking about break. I should do a separate video on how break works. But anyways, we have Organic Yeast. So after using ultimate, immediately advances action forward, and it has its related ability. Again, this is nothing too crazy. It ties into how his talent works, where if you attack the enemy target, everybody gets healed, right? Again, like I've been saying, he's sort of a pseudo Luocha. He'll apply his healing aura to the enemy, or healing debuff to the enemy, and advance himself forward. So then he can use his enhanced basic, right? Do the high toughness damage, and then heal the whole team because of his other talent, which is when using his enhanced basic, right? If they're in the bestowed state, which will happen because it happens immediately after the ultimate, it will heal everybody else, right? So just understand, he will have pretty decent healing uptime. He won't heal as much as Luocha, right? As Luocha has direct healing to the whole team, his will be individual per ally doing an attack. But for a 4-star healer that's also building break, this is pretty damn good, I'd say, right? Being able to provide all this and bat up with a character like Luocha, right? So, yeah. And you could argue that devalues Luocha. Listen, Luocha lost value because of how strong the other sustains are, just straight up, okay? You look at people's pull analysis, people tell you not to pull Luocha. And I'll be honest, with a character like Gallagher, probably don't want to pull Luocha. Although Luocha's Eidolons do actually do, a decent amount. So that's really up to you if you're whaling or not, right? Then there's this technique where it instantly inflicts his bestow, to like his healing aura, onto the enemies when entering battle and deals damage. And a lot of times you won't be using this. Typically for supports, right? The cast techniques are normally better. Now, if you have a full team of like just cast techniques and not attack techniques, you could use his. But you probably won't get a lot of use out of this because you arguably don't need turn 1 healing, and he would also be able to turn 1 heal anyways. So you probably don't even need this. Unless, of course, you're doing like a turn 1 break with Gallagher. So like if you know there's, you know, what, 60 toughness, right? Because techniques are typically like 60 toughness. So you know there's a bunch of small toughness enemies at the start. You could start with this and it'd be pretty good. But yeah, that's really up to you. And then his basic attack where he has his regular basic and then enhanced basic, which again, it's an enhanced basic, so we know it's going to do more toughness damage to the actual bar. And as like his other talent, give you additional effects, right? It says here, it has an attack down, right? So reducing the target's attack is another defensive mechanic that's also very beneficial. This, I believe, is the second character to ever have this with... no, it might be third character to have this. I know that Natasha has weakness where they deal less damage, right? Which is a separate multiplier. But point is, again, attack down, pretty interesting to have, right? Not something we see very often. Then there's this talent which increases, so when they're in the bestowed state, they take more break damage, and every time they're attacked, the attacker gets healed, right? This is where it's like pseudo duocha, where if you attack while they have the debuff on them, you get healed. So you're going to want to make sure his healing is very strong, as you're going to have to attack, or at least have your team be very fast, because the more you attack, right, the more you'll get heals from it. As well as, again, as we know, and I think it's down here. Oh yeah, the skill just restores HP. Yeah, inflicts bestowed state on all enemies for a certain number of turns. So this is inflicted upon the enemy via their turns, not your own turns. So Ruin Mei with her rebreak could potentially get a little goofy with how the healing is set up. So keep that in mind if you do use her with it, even though it is ideal for the break team because she's buffing the efficiency. That's something that could, you know, kind of mess things up if you don't have good uptime in your ultimate. But it's also important to know this, as you're going to break, they're going to get delayed. And then the more actions you get during then, like while it's up, you'll get more healing out, right? And then, of course, it enhances his next unit, you know, next unit's basic attack to his enhanced basic, right? So you'll be able to, like, skill basic ult into basic again and just do, like, 300 toughness damage or something like that. And, like, completely one, like, bar elites in, like, one go. So for a healer doing all of this, that's very, very good. And he's free, mind you. So, yeah, again, I feel like people don't understand the value of this character and what he brings to your account. Again, he's another option that is going to be very powerful for specific setups, right? And again, to compare him to Lynx, who's another free healer, if you have sustains, right, you probably won't get use out of him. But even if you do, you probably want to consider what he actually does for you, right, if you ever want to build him. And so, yeah, don't be discouraged by, oh, there's a free healer, maybe I don't need this one. No, he provides something for you, right? But yeah, some people like to disagree and not understand how the character works, but maybe I'm just digging into it too hard, but he is very, very good. So of course I've already listed, and again, I've shown these off in other videos, right? But Helya versus now officially revealed it, so we can talk about it. And you're gonna be like, wait, where'd you get some of these numbers? Don't worry about it. But yeah, so Gallagher's gonna be 4-star healer. He's gonna have his regular stats, right? As a, 100 taunt, the energy value, all that stuff. You're going to want to level up his abilities that prioritize his healing first, and then focus all on the break. As you can see here, these are materials you need. It's in the in the actual website, but here you go in case you want to have a picture of it. Obviously for sets, you're going to want to build them full thief to get the most out of the actual break potential. But if you do need the speed or survivability, you have the other stats that you can build into. And again, the new 4-piece set doesn't work on him because it's an attacking ultimate, in case anyone was wondering about that. As for relics, right, you'd go with any of the support sets. I see no reason to build in the extra break when you can boost your energy recharge or boost the damage of any other characters for a stat you're already going to build, because he is a support, right? So you're obviously going to want healer, HP, speed, right? Because getting those actions off is how you get the most out of this character. And then you're going to want the break or energy recharge stats, right? It's pretty much given. Of course, there is the teams thing. You guys know the drill. It's a sustain. You can throw them wherever you want, right? Pretty much. As for the abilities, or sorry, light cones, you can see down here what I recommend for like building, the character, right? If you want to read that. The light cones are an interesting scenario. All the ones in green are the ones I'm going to recommend. And you'll be like, wait a minute, that's a 3-star light cone. And the reason I'm recommending a 3-star Lycan is because, again, action value and getting more attacks off and skill points. Now, this more pertains for like nerd teams if you do want to go crazy on the speed, because I'm going to be trying this out whenever I use this in the live game, right? 20% action value with high speed Gallagher is going to get you multiple, like three, 2 turns every cycle, right? As assuming you just spam basic. Every time you skill, right, you lose it. But for a character that's going to be doing a lot of basic attacks and gets his own action advance during his ultimate, you're going to get a lot of use out of this. Plus, again, his talent is based off of healing via him attacking, right? So you got to keep that in mind. Obviously, shared feeling is better heal percent and then energy recharge. Excuse me, perfect timing is a lot of healing percent. So if you go heal body with perfect timing and a character that's already giving himself what is it, effect res, you're gonna get a shit ton of healing percent. You're gonna get like 150 heal percent on this character, and he's gonna heal for like over 4k. So you could just run perfect timing and have him be completely immune to debuffs and heal a lot. So keep that in mind. All 4 of these options are very beneficial, and then this one's break, so for the overall damage and then personal heal, right? You'll get a lot out of that. So yeah, I've been yapping too long. 16 minutes, like pre-release guide, crazy. But just keep in mind, this is how I function or like build the character, right? Pretty simple. The other ones are like okay, but I really wouldn't do them. I see no reason to go for quid pro quo. Honestly, it doesn't work with Acheron, I'll tell you that. And then the other ones you don't get as much out of unless you, of course, want the faster ultimates. But although you don't really need to stack both, really, so it's not a you probably don't want to run this light gun, and then it's just a stat stick for the other one. Yeah, so that's me yapping about Gallagher. Apologize if I took too long for this. It probably should have been shorter, but I really gotta hammer home the fact that break is a little whack, and it's very, very impactful to how things actually work for this character. So yeah, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow on Twitch, and I'll see you guys in the next one.